Hey, good morning, Andre. This is a quick demo video for you for your Templar. I actually got this done last night, but I was putting on the pull tab that I'll show you in a minute. I originally tried some of the glue that I usually use, but that wasn't holding. So I actually went through and I JB welded that guy on so that it could stand the force of being pulled. Well, let's go over this guy. So you got your Shtok NPXLs in there. I did put a set screw right here in order to hold that in place. You do have a blade retention screw. To get to it, though, you'd have to, from your switch side, unscrew this, and it's right there, and then screw this back. For the purpose of this video, I just took that out completely because that will need to be engaged all the way through in order for this to clock in correctly. And I found that this blade socket is so tight that I don't need it. I've got a test blade here that we're gonna use, and this guy has been sanded repeatedly, probably more than any other blade I've ever done over the course of the last year and a half. I've been sanding this guy, and it usually fits into things pretty loose, but it's snug in this. So your blade will definitely have to be sanded. I did a measurement. I think it's 1.93 inches into the blade socket is where you'll get contact to your pins. I write all over this guy because it just helps me out. So that's about what you'll want to sand on your blade. Probably start with like a rough grit sandpaper to get all that material off, and then you can just finish it off with a fine grit to smooth it out. But you do have a dual tactile switch here from Robert Sotomayor that I used. So the top button is going to be your activation, and then I made the bottom button your auxiliary. We'll get to everything by unscrewing the pummel cap. So originally last night what I was doing was, all right, let me just open this up first. So when you open up the pummel cap, you're gonna notice this sticking out right here, okay? So what that does is that just allows you to kind of pull on it. You might find that as you pull on it, you wanna twist a little bit counterclockwise, because that's how I have, on these sliding chassis, you take everything out here, you install it, and then you coil the wires and twist them up as you go so that you can push the chassis in and the wires don't get bundled on themselves. So you might find that you wanna, as you're come out counterclockwise, and that will give you a nice access to where your battery goes. I usually just bring it out to about right here. But then when you program your board, it will come out all the way, and there you go. It's a press fit down, and then I do have a piece of just heat tape holding it on. Normally that would hold itself in place really nicely, but because this is a sliding chassis and I do have those wires coiled, it wants to pull the board up on the end. So I just went ahead and I modeled that piece in that chassis anyway for a piece of tape if it was ever needed. So I just went ahead and I utilized it. So everything is held down fine there. So use the speaker that you provided, which you can see behind the pull tab here, and I just 3D printed this piece right here, because what had happened was I put this chassis all the way in to test it, and then also had all the threads on this pummel cap. So when I tried to go get it out, I spent about 20 minutes trying to get that guy out. So I thought, well, this isn't gonna work. So I had to sand the chassis down first to get it to be nice and smooth. And then I went ahead and I modeled a holder here with a pull tab. And then, like I said, I tried to use some glue that I usually use on other things, but it couldn't withstand the force of me just pulling on it. So last night before I went to bed, I did JB weld this guy on the back of the chassis, and then I let it cure overnight and tested it this morning. It's good to go. That stuff is great. When it cures, it's just like, it's solid. So this now withstands me having to do anything I want to do, and then you have plenty of sound venting on either side. So I've been having to do a lot of these speaker holders lately. I noticed it on someone else's Sabre that I fixed a few months back, and it's just it's been a nice little feature for things that are hard to get to. So anyway, you've got your battery compartment right here. Your spring side is going to be your negative, so we're going to go ahead and throw a battery in it. And then we're going to take it, and then as you're pushing it back in, I just twist it clockwise, right? So counterclockwise out, clockwise in. That just keeps the wires coiled in the manner that they're coiled right now. And then I just push it back to where the tab's about right there. And you can see, you'll see your threads, and then you'll also feel it kind of stop. So I did have to cut some of the threads off this pummel cap. I said half on my post. I probably cut a little over half. I left you 3 threads on here because that's where I was coming to a stop right here before it got really tight. So I didn't want to force it much past that. 3 threads is plenty with this guy because they're so thick, right? So we're gonna take this and just screw it back on, and then you'll notice that this pull tab was modeled in a way where it could fit inside this guy and not get pushed. So that's why it's in the shape and you know, small width that it is. So it fits in here. So we'll just take this and we'll put it back on. I dremeled off. I used a cutoff wheel with my Dremel, but I went back with a hand file and made sure everything was pretty for you, so I just didn't go hacking. So activation. And you can see your Shtok pixels in there working. Flash on flash. Auxiliary. And we'll turn it off. And we'll use auxiliary while it's off to change your sound font. And then actually while I change that, let's go ahead and we'll throw the blade in so that you can see that everything's working right. This is an incredibly tight blade socket. Let's see if I got it. Not quite in there yet. Almost. So after this video is over, I'm probably going to have a hell of a time getting this guy out. But that's okay. There we go. That was hard to do. So just remember, sand your blade. So auxiliary to switch your sound fonts. And then, of course, activation. And we'll just cycle through a few of them so you can hear them. Everything's looking good. Looking good there. So you kind of get the point there, right? Like, so everything's great on this guy. This does lock into place as tight as it was before because it's not the threads that stop it, it's the end of the threads here on this ring, right? So you can push it on and then you can screw it on tight, or you can just give it kind of a right? And then it's locked in place. And that's pretty much everything. I'm gonna fix the Shtok that you gave me that needs a little bit of rewiring, and then make your chassis, and then I plan on having these ready to go by this weekend. Thank you.